Warning: the following episode of That Mental Ginger Show contains strong language and adult themes. On today's episode of That Mental Ginger Show, we are talking to actor and future stand-up comedian Sean Higgs. We'll be discussing his time in South Africa, his journey in the army, and how he's managed to somehow adopt a very successful Scottish accent. Please tune in for more, and until then, let's cut to the intro.
All right, troops.
This episode of That Mental Ginger Show is recorded at Scuff Studios. If you're looking to do podcasts, music, or any creative passions, these guys will have you covered. For more information, contact Scuff Studios at scuffed.studios.gla@gmail.com or find them on Facebook or Instagram and drop them a message. Scuff Studios, to nurture your creative passions. Sean, thank you so much for coming on to the insanity that is this show.
It's something to do with ginger, eh?
Yeah, but you know it's ironic? Like the actual root ginger is not orange.
No, it's a brownie kind of colour.
It looks a bit like pineapple.
Yeah.
Actually, once you cut it away, it's nice and yellow. So
what's that all about?
So they've really fucked us up.
Well, I mean, I come from South Africa, right? And it's not an issue there.
Well, that actually will lead into the first question because, well, I only asked two questions, as anybody who watches this knows. But the first one is, I like to find out about the guests' origin stories because that's the one thing we've all
Aye.
common.
You can hear I'm not from here.
Well, in fairness, I don't even sound like I'm from here sometimes.
You're from there.
But here, there, everywhere. Once I just did pull a bird because she thought I was Irish.
Well.
Yeah, I just put on the accent and, well, yeah, it worked. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it. So, Sean, please tell us your origin story.
Well, I was born in South Africa, which is at the end of the bottom of the African continent. It's known primarily for its racism.
Oh.
Which, and I'm probably the perfect exponent of that. The white male racist, I'm not racist, but because I'm white and I'm male and I come from South Africa, it's like, oh, right, you're a racist.
I love how you went totally Scottish when you said that as well. Like, right, you're a racist.
I'm just saying that's the effect, that I've been here for nearly 10 years. And the first thing that a Scottish person will ask me is, oh, where are you from? Are you Australian?
Oh.
I try and explain to them, no, the Australians have got this like whiny thing going on, right? They kind of go up at the end of these sentences.
Yeah, my wife watches a lot of Australian soaps. Like, I really, really hate them.
Yeah, no, I can't. I don't want to say hate because that's, what I mean?
Hate is a strong word. I really, really dislike neighbours.
Look, obviously, I mean, and we being South Africans, the one thing that we love more than almost anything else in the world is rugby. And the Australians are good at it. And I mean, we're good at it, but they're also. So as a result, there's always, there's tension between the two Antipodean countries. And the third one, New Zealand.
I was going to say, was there such a thing as an old Zealand?
Well, there was. Zealand, I think, is part of the Dutch peninsula. And so the New Zealand is something to do with that.
Because it was something I'd heard on a TV show, is like we said, like, you don't even know where New Zealand is, and it said you could dance your way there from Old Zealand. And I was like, but is there really such a thing as an Old Zealand? So there we go.
No,
You're learning something every day in this show.
I think it was part of Europe, Zealand. I think because it sounds very like a Zee in Dutch would be the sea, and so the Zealand would be maybe like a peninsula, maybe. Hey, I'm open to correction.
Yeah, well, if anybody knows about Zealand, just let us know. So, I've got to ask, why did you come to Scotland?
Because of the weather, the fantastic, the Scottish weather. There's nothing quite like it anywhere else in the world. And I just had to experience it. And I got here and fell in love with the weather and decided to stay.
4 seasons in one day really, really suited you.
Man. I mean, I come from sunshine and beautiful white sandy beaches and semi-naked women, I mean, who wants that?
Exactly. I mean, that can
get to fuck.
Yeah, that's really my idea of hell. I mean, everything up to the naked women part is hell for a ginger. Well, I would fry. I would be destroyed.
Yeah.
But,
You would. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, like, I worked in Sainsbury's as one of the jobs that I did when I came here to Scotland. And, on a sunny day, which I think in Scotland is about
a Tuesday.
18 degrees, and there's one of them a year. I think it's usually a Tuesday.
Yep.
You could see that it had been because of the bra strap burns and all the Scottish women going, oh, that's absolutely roasting in here. It's terrible. It's roasting, And so you're like, okay. Meanwhile, you've got like a jumper on and a jacket, and you're like, oh, Christ, it's fucking cold.
Well, one thing I've got to say, Matt, you've got a brilliant Scottish accent. But there's so many ones that you hear and they sound like groundskeeper Willie for The Simpsons. You've properly nailed the Scottish accent.
Well, I love accents, Yeah. I mean, I've been doing. When I grew up in South Africa, there was no TV, right? TV came into South Africa in 1976, so we didn't have TV, so we had records, and I was lucky enough to be introduced to a thing called Monty Python.
Hey,
which has got lots of accents, And then I had friends who also were pretty much into it, and we used to do the sketches, as part of what we did. We'd be doing the dishes on a Sunday after church,
Yeah.
Not going to church anymore, but and we'd be just doing Monty Python sketches,
I can just picture you, just you and your family over the dishes talking about the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah. This is not the Spanish Inquisition.
I can just really
expect it. I wasn't actually expecting that. I mean, so Python taught me a lot about humor. One year I grew up in a country called Lesotho, which is a small little mountainous area in the middle of South Africa, which not a lot of people know about it. But it was a completely multiracial, very free society. But the next door neighbor, South Africa, was this like everybody's heard of apartheid, which is like where the white people, almost Nazi Germany, to a certain extent. It was pretty hectic, and the black people were they were considered to be inferior human beings. They were not given the vote, etc., etc., etc. So I grew up in Lesotho, which is primarily a black country with its own king, and then all of a sudden, because of the stuff that was happening in South Africa, the liberation movement in South Africa, the Lesotho government kicked us out because we were white South Africans, So so you experienced reverse racism, essentially. You're like, you're white, get to. Exactly. And so then I went to this new country where you weren't allowed to talk really, you certainly weren't allowed to socialize with black people. They weren't allowed in your schools. They didn't play sport with them. They didn't go to the theater, you know what I mean? They weren't in plays. And so now in that year, I went to 4 different schools because we were trying to find our feet, We almost became gypsies to a certain extent, And we ended up, so after 4 years of 4 different schools in 1 year, wow, I had to develop a sense of humor because it was the only way to cope with these people, And so Monty Python helped me a lot. I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, man. It's cool. Bill Cosby as well, Oh, Bill Cosby. Well, we've already brought up Jimmy Carr. Let's bring up Bill Cosby. Fuck it. Let's bring up all the comedians that everybody hates right now. Bill Cosby, I was completely enthralled with Bill Cosby. Okay, I know that he's not that. He's a bit of a taboo subject at the moment because of what he did to all those women, Yeah. But at the time when I was a kid growing up, he was funny, Yeah. He was extremely funny. And I used to get up and do all these Bill Cosby sketches for drama projects and that, in front of the whole school. I never considered for 1 minute that some of these white racists wouldn't actually quite get that I'm doing a black comedian's material. Yeah. When I was in the army, guess what sketch I did? We were up on the border, which was where we were fighting that particular border war. And we had a sketch night, where it was a fun night. Guess which sketch I did? Bring out your dead. And I didn't think at the time the irony of doing Bring Out Your Dead, like in the middle of a war zone.
So where were you in the army?
In South Africa, we were all conscripted.
Yeah.
All white, you know.
So was it like a draft?
All white, beautiful boys, blonde hair and blue-eyed boys were all drafted into the army.
That's my kids. My kids are blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah, they would have been perfect.
Yeah, I keep saying that they're perfect for the next rise of fascism.
Yeah, is the golden, yeah.
I feel like I'm in an episode of Hello. Okay,
yeah,
oh,
no,
but,
I mean,
So was it like a draft that you guys all had to get, like, just recruited?
It's called conscription. So you had to go and do 2 years in the army. If you didn't do the 2 years, you'd do 6 years in jail. That was the choice.
Wow.
So it's at that stage, it's easy to choose.
Pardon my bluntness, but it was either get shot or get bummed.
Yeah, one of the two.
Wow. That's rough.
No, it was rough. And then, it was a very sort of machismatic, whatever the word is, society where the men had to be like really strong and they had to drink hard and play hard and hate blacks. You know, it was like that was one of the things that was required, you know. And I mean, I got into quite a lot of trouble because I got rank in my first year. And then I was discussing this with some of the other corporals that I was with. And the next thing I'm on in front of the major, you know, and the major's like, you know, Higgs, we believe that, you know, you're not doing your job correctly, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I beg your pardon, Major. You know, my men are the fastest that we've got on setting up the mortar. And I just rattle off all the statistics because I was able to motivate my guys because I wasn't a fascist. I was more of a psychologist at the ripe old age of 18.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 17 when I got on the train. I just turned 17 in November when I got on the train and was taken away from my family to start training to become an extension of the weapon. You know, yeah, no, it was crazy times. Thank God that's all over.
Yeah, like 17, I could barely figure out my left from my right, let alone go to war, man.
I know.
And especially lead other guys.
Yeah, and they showed us how to do everything. You know, terrible. Luckily, I never had to kill anybody or anything like that because I think that would affect you, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have to do it, so I don't know.
But
I would think that come to the point where you've done something like that, I don't think you're going to be the same as you were beforehand, you know?
Especially, even if you hadn't killed anybody, being in that type of situation, it's not natural for anybody.
Well, it's murder, you know?
Yeah. It's legalized murder.
They say it's not. It's, it's war. It's legalized murder en masse.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we sitting here in 2022 can't see that war is a mugs game, well, then we the fools. You know, like at the moment, there's this whole Ukraine thing going on. I mean, they must know that they're being complete dickheads.
Well, by the time this airs, like that could be done and we could all be wiped out. But, you know, who knows?
Yeah, because we're quite, you know, I mean, apparently nuclear waste floats through the air, you know?
Yeah, well, it's certainly on this podcast, a lot of waste floats through the air.
It's not meant to be serious, is it?
Yeah, so, no, it doesn't matter. What life's unedited. I don't edit and I don't apologise for
what comes out.
Exactly. What can you do? Cancel me? Go ahead. I'll find somewhere else.
Do your worst.
Yeah, do your worst, and a lot of you have tried and failed. We gingers are like cockroaches. We just keep rising. But the ones that will survive, the cockroaches, the Twinkies, and me.
And the gingers.
And the gingers. So,
moan the gingers.
So, what about the performance side of you?
Well, I mean, I've been performing from day one, you know, and it got interrupted with this move to South Africa because every year I was in the school plays and everything up until we went to South Africa. Then I was like a bit like, help, you know.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of that, I was good at sports. I was in the first rugby team and that sort of thing. And so then I started feeling a bit more confident. So I started getting back into school plays. Did the army. Did a bit of performance in the army. You know, bring out your dad. Bang. I think I'm feeling better. Oh, you'll be dead in a minute. You know. So then after the army, I didn't quite know what the hell to do with myself. You know, because they don't switch it off.
Yeah.
They switch it on and they just leave it on and they put you back into society, you know? So I went to go and see a psychologist and I did like 1,000 tests on, you know, aptitude tests, you know? And at the end of it, I paid him a whole lot of money. At the end of it, he said, "We'll come back in 2 weeks' time and we'll discuss it and I'll have had a look at it." I came back. I said, "Right, tell me what to do."
Yeah.
He said, "You can do anything you want to do." I said, "What the fuck?
That doesn't help.
I paid you money to tell me what to do. Now you're telling me this. Fuck you,
I think that was because you were in the army, because it is so regimented.
Yeah.
Like you're told basically like everything, like when to sleep, when to eat, basically when to take a shit.
No, exactly. You're not required. No thinking required.
Yeah. Well,
you just if they say something, you do it.
The way that suits me, because it's clear me being left to my own devices is a bad idea.
One could argue that factor.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then he said to me, "Well, go to university because you've obviously got a good brain. Go to university and choose 4 subjects that interest you and do a BA with those 4 subjects." And one of them was drama. And the minute I started doing drama, I realized these are my people. So then the following year, I went and I did the Performers Diploma course, which is a 3-year acting course. And that was just the best time of my life, even though I completely lost. I lost it with reality. I was smoking a lot of marijuana at that point, So if you, I mean, obviously drama is a very imaginative art form. But it's not art like on the walls or a sculpture. It's not an external, it's an interior art. You are the subject matter. So I was doing that and smoking, which is also a fairly internal thing, So I kind of lost the plot a little bit. But nevertheless, I came out of drama school and I started, auditioning for stuff. And a couple of friends of mine created a play which is based on the Python style of humor, which is a little bit wacky. And we would sell the audience tomatoes at the door. So everybody in the audience that was prepared to buy was sitting with 4 or 5 tomatoes, and we'd start the show. And I mean, within the first 7 or 8 minutes, all the tomatoes would have flown onto the stage, and the audience would be like, "You're like, now what do we do? We haven't got tomatoes." So then we'd pick them up and we'd sell them some more tomatoes. And we'd go into the audience and sell them a few more tomatoes and get back on and carry on the show. And then they'd realize, okay, and they'd hold them, and they realize that they're participating in this theatrical event. And what's the best time to throw the tomato,
Yeah.
And in the beginning, we were hit all the time with tomatoes. Towards the end of the show, you actually develop a tomato sense, So you know what I mean? You're busy saying a line and you do that, and the tomato goes flying past your head, and you look at the person that threw it, and you can feel the audience go like this, You pick up a tomato, and the whole audience is like, yeah,
I thought it was a case that you were going to say, we got to the tomatoes, but then we had to up it to cabbages.
well, I mean, a couple of my friends would do that. Because the idea came from, I was discussing Shakespeare with some of my more erudite colleagues. And,
Shakespeare, darling.
Yes. And apparently in Shakespeare, the people that stood at the bottom of the stage, it was muddy and dirty.
Yeah.
And they would bring cabbages and tomatoes and carrots, detritus. And they would throw it at the performers if the performers weren't doing a good enough job.
Yeah, if they were shit.
If they're shit, yeah. Shit! Boom!
It's surprising.
Oh, how dare they? And that sort of shit,
Oh, they could have actually thrown their own shit. It would have been so much easier.
Yeah. Like monkeys, Yeah, because monkeys do that,
Yeah.
Yeah, so then that was my introduction into paid theatre.
That's certainly an introduction. I'm just imagining someone turning up with a fresh melon and just trying to launch it at you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that would have been fantastic. I mean, it would have probably fallen short and it smashed beautifully. It would have been a magic moment,
Yeah.
I mean, there were so many, because I was off my head, I mean, I would pile up maybe 15, these stacking chairs.
Yeah.
15 stacking chairs. I'd have pilots, silver pilot goggles on and a clown suit. And I'd climb right up to the top of the chairs and pretend to adjust the light. And you know what I mean? You could still smell the marijuana that I'd been smoking backstage coming through to the audience. But it was an incredibly cathartic theatrical experience for the audience. I've never been backstage or after, like in the bar after a show that was rocking like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes people after a show will go in and sit down and have a quiet beer. Maybe sometimes it's quite jovial, but this was like a raw. Everybody was like, yeah, let me buy you a drink, So, I mean, it would then you'd carry on partying until 2, 3 in the morning, Wow. Yeah, so it was like, wow.
I'm just picturing you with goggles and a clown suit climbing chairs, and I think my audio guy will sum up this. That sounds like a Saturday night in Airdrie.
Is that where to be? A Saturday night in Airdrie?
Yeah, that's just when you have one too many hits of LSD, and that's you going.
Yeah.
So
let's not talk about one or too many hits of LSD. Yeah, that's a story for another time.
Yeah, that's another day and another cup of coffee, as I like to say. So what are you up to now? What in the acting side of it?
Well, then I got into the movie industry, and I was lucky. Hey? I worked with some famous people. So
any names you can drop?
Well,
he's got a list.
Yes, it goes on and on. I mean, my IMDb page. I was looking at it today, just trying to refresh my memory.
Oh, I so want to play wank good guy and be like, right, give me a name and go wank. Go good guy.
Well, I worked with William H. Macy and Meg Ryan and LL Cool and Elliot Gould and Jason Ritter and Fiona Glasgow on one movie called The Deal, which was amazing. I mean, I had a scene with Meg Ryan, which like to have a chance to be in her presence it's a bonus. What I mean? Like, that's like definitely a star on your chart.
Oh, definitely. Those names that you rhymed off. I mean, like LL Cool J. I mean, we're of that generation. What I mean, the guys where 90s hip hop was that kind of thing, and
he's cool. And he's a big boy.
It's in his name.
Yeah, no, he's a big boy, and he had a big trailer on set.
Yeah,
a whole gym in it.
Yeah. I remember watching him in Deep Blue Sea and thinking, like, okay, so Samuel Jackson's been eaten by the shark. How are we going to get another guy that's going to step up? And it was ironically LL Cool J.
Cool J.
Yeah.
And I think I think he's done a bit more performing, acting performing as opposed to his music, because he's very successful with his music.
Yeah, it was his music that he started out with.
And I think he's getting better as an actor, And you see that with all of them. I mean, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan and the Barbarian, and you look at his later stuff. He really got better,
Yeah. He'll never beat Terminator. He didn't need to say much, and he was already with someone that you knew would kill you.
And then in Scotland, I mean, I had a dream come true. I got cast in just a small little role, but with Eddie Izzard.
Wow.
And I mean, Eddie Izzard for me is an incredibly talented human being. And not just an incredibly talented human being, but what a strong mind. I mean, the whole trans, I don't understand the whole that them and they and there. And I don't really can't, and I've tried to get my head around it. I don't understand it, but what a man, what a person, what a human being. And so strong. I mean, he's done like these 40 marathons in 40 days, things, and my God,
The one thing that I find weird about Eddie Izzard is like, can I still get an erection? Am I allowed? Is that legal?
I reckon if that's your thing, I reckon definitely. I mean,
it's a brave new world.
I mean, I don't know if he's pretty enough. I think there's probably prettier them than that.
I've seen worse, in fairness.
But he's okay.
His acting was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant in Hannibal.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. Like, the whole premise is, spoiler alert if you've not seen Hannibal, Dr. Lecter makes him eat his own leg. And that's pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
Right, so where's the other names? Well, I'm really...
I was booked on a...
I can see our videographer Ross is trying to sneak a peek at he's like, right, what are these names and can I get contact information?
Yeah, Luke Goss, Sean Bean, Danny Trejo.
Oh, Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo.
Oh, man.
What a scary dude.
Machete. Oh, my goodness.
I did a movie with him called Death Race 2 just after he'd done Machete with Robert De Niro was in that, And I mean, he's, Danny Trejo is he's a charismatic guy and he likes to be the king of the castle. And I didn't get that, I like to be the king of the castle as well,
Yeah.
If we're having dialogue, I'm going to try and get some chirps in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's part of the competition. I'm sorry. That's the way you rock and roll. So and I was starting to like get the better of that conversation. I was in with him, and he turned on me. Yes, so I shat my pants.
No wonder yeah. That's a guy that you don't want to
But
mess
he's
with.
older than me, all right? I'm 58 now, but I mean, he's probably 68 now, maybe 64, somewhere between there. And he's still curling like 60 kilogram weights, curls, you know, just sitting there curling them, you know. And he's done 10 years hard time,
Yeah.
you know. Okay, he came out of that, and he's done so much positive stuff.
Yeah. No, he's been
As a
brilliant.
result of you know, realizing that the hard time wasn't a good thing to do. But I mean, it's still 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. But there's a reason why no one ticks off Machete.
No, exactly. Julian Sands, Tim Curry was probably one of my favorite people to ever work with. And I did a lot of time on set with Tim Curry. We did about 16 days. So I kind of got to know him. I never really became his friend or anything like that, but what an incredible actor. He's got a throat about that big. You know, it's huge. He's got this huge throat, and you see the throat starts going, and then the stuff, his vocals come out of that voice box. He's amazing.
Yeah, his vocal range alone is unreal.
It's amazing. He's had a stroke, and he's he's sort of coming towards the end. But what a guy, you know.
Well, there's certain legacies that you can't touch, and being Dr. Frankenfurter.
Look, he made that, you know. I mean, I find it peculiar that I've spoken to some people that have never heard of it. But I can't believe that that's possible. I don't know how you can be alive and not know about the Rocky Horror Picture Show, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, maybe it's because I'm old, you know?
Not old, just older, as Bon Jovi would say.
Part of a different cultural journey, you know? But, yeah. One of my big disappointments was, it was a great thing because I got to meet him, but I was booked to do a 2 days on a Clint Eastwood movie that was filming in South Africa called Invictus.
Oh.
And I got to meet him at the opening, you know, when the meet and greet at the beginning of the shoot, you know. Yeah. And he's not a very tall man. In my mind, he was like that tall, you know.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's like that tall.
Yeah, because you see like those type of things. It's like how Tom Cruise is.
Tom Cruise, everybody thinks he's massive.
Yeah. Well, and then everybody freaked out when he got cast as Jack Reacher, and you're like, Jack Reacher's like 6'6", and he's like a midget. Well, no, he's not.
I think he's
respect a guy that can hang out of a plane.
I think he's 5'5" or 5'6". He's shorter, and I mean, one of the things is that to make him look taller, all the casting is designed in that way.
Yeah.
They cast a lot of smaller people. They don't put a lot of big people into the movie, so then he looks just like everybody, you know.
It's even just like doing simple adjustments. If they're having a scene, they'll just lower a chair. Well, it's all the trickery.
Exactly.
All the trickery.
Apple boxes and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, in my journey through this wilderness that we call the film industry, I mean, I was lucky enough to work both sides of the camera. I started off as a clapper loader. When they used to still shoot on film, I know you guys don't shoot on film anymore. It's hardly used anymore.
Yeah.
Because of the fantastic technology that's developed with the digital age. But I was a clapper loader, and then a focus puller, and I was an assistant director, and I did a bit of directing, not on film, unfortunately, but I would have loved to. I directed a couple of episodes of a thing that Colin McGregor and myself were involved in called Boundless, which is a web series that was here in Scotland.
Yeah.
Which, you know, looks very nice, and that was with no pre-production, you know. I think if Katie and them were able to redo it again with the what they understand now of how important pre-production is in making something, the preparation that you do beforehand is going to show.
Yeah.
So the less of that you do, the more it shows. If you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And you know, my wife was a casting director in South Africa, so I was very lucky to be married to a casting director because I worked in the studio with the directors that she was working with. They picked up on my energy and would just give me a role, you know. So I got a lot of roles just given to me like that, which I didn't even have to audition for. Some of them I had to audition for, and then, you know, I've been lucky.
Yeah. So you've worked with all these amazing people. You're asking me, what a fat middle-aged ginger guy with mental health issues, how to get into stand-up comedy. You drop some of these names and you're in like a motherfucker, man. But seriously, we fly by the seat of our pants here.
But hear me out, okay? I've worked with these people, but that doesn't make me anything. It really doesn't. You know, they are those people. But obviously people like to hear about that. And so maybe as part of a stand-up routine, I could use some of that, you know? Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, well, it depends how successful you get, I guess.
Yeah, well, you know, and I mean, we'll see. You know, my thing that I'm trying to work at the moment is to get some material. If I can get 5 minutes of material written, I promise you I'm not going to not do it. I am going to perform it. So I'm not scared to perform.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely tell that about you right there. Like, there's a certain, certainly a pull no punches kind of aura about you. Like, it's one of those ones that I'm like, it's like, yeah, I'll just move back.
Yeah.
If we had the condenser mic still on, I'd be moving, sliding along a bit.
He's quite a big unit.
It's like, I want to go home with all my teeth, please.
I mean, like, I have learned a lot of what a lot of things mean in Scotland. You know, like, hey, big man. You know, like, and you, what are you saying? You know, I don't think I'm that big. You are. You've had one too many pies. Just one too many.
Yeah, only one. That's actually good. But Scotland is the only place where the C word is actually used in a complimentary term. Yeah, where people come up to you and go, "This, C word is some chanter, by the way," and I'm like, "That's you saying that I'm a good singer." Cheers, man. Some chanter, mate.
I mean, South Africans, if you say how you doing, they say, "No, cool," you know, lovely, one time, you know. And the same thing in Scotland is, "Aye, all right, no bad." And it means the same.
Yeah.
It's like the same. It's so, in other words, they feel the same. They feel pretty good.
Yeah.
But they never say it. They don't let it out. Apparently, I'm wrong, because in some instances they do let it out. But there's quite a lot which is just like, I couldn't understand it when I was working in Sainsbury's. Like, hey, how you doing? Aye, all right, no bad. I'm like, what's wrong? No, it's not bad, pal. So you start to.
It's like not bad. Translation. What? Not great. Not good.
We would, if in South Africa, if somebody said, "Hey, Sean, how's it going?" and I said, "Not bad," they think, Jesus, somebody's died. You know, is your dog? I know your dog was sick. Is it? You know, a Scotsman is saying, "Hey, it's brilliant, pal." You know? They're like, "Yeah, but so it's just it's a big thing, moving countries and learning and seeing and saying, okay."
That's something what I was going to ask. Like, see, obviously talk about culture shock. How much of a culture shock is it going from South Africa to Scotland?
Yeah, you know, I think culture shock is maybe a misunderstood thing because of the word shock. You expect it to be a big thing, but it's a small thing. It's like none of the shops that you used to go to exist. There's no bottle stores. They're all built into the supermarkets. There's no hardware shops. They're all supermarket B&Qs and that sort of, you know, big, massive. That's the hardware shop.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose at one point there were smaller hardware shops. So it's little things, you know, it's driving on roads that there's like a brick wall.
Yeah.
At the end of the car's lane, there's no extra. There's a brick wall, a stone wall here, and a 1,000 ton truck coming straight at you. And so, you know, you white for the first 6 months of driving in Scotland, my knuckles got white.
With that, in South Africa, did you have roundabouts?
Not many.
Were they terrifying for you?
No. Yeah, the roundabouts for me here, I'm happy with the roundabouts here, but it's that narrowness where everything and the houses are all on top of each other. So it's like that. In South Africa, it's like that. It's wide. It's a new country, you know, relatively speaking. So it's wide open.
Yeah.
You know, you can park your car anywhere you want. You pull off the road, and there's a lane for you to just stop and get out and have a piss or whatever, take photographs. yeah, if you want to take a photograph, you got to like, hopefully there's a farm gate or something I could just pull up and now I've got to run back there to go get that.
It's more a case of if you want to take a piss, there's a bottle in the car.
Aye.
Fire away.
Fire away. If it's full,
that's the advantage
toss
of
it out.
that's the advantage of having a betting shop biro. It's much easier for accuracy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what's your plans for 2022? What's
Well, I'm hoping to get a little bit of stand-up comedy done this year. I'll do some open mics, you know, and get enough material to do that. So I'd like to do that. I mean, I've got an agent, and he puts me up for stuff. But you know, it's funny that in a way, you know, if they let me come and audition, I could show them that I can do it. But they sort of seem to think, well, why do we want a South African who can do a fairly good Scottish accent? Or why do we want a South African who can, you know, can talk like that? You know, we've got enough people that what's talking like that. You know, we don't need another fucking geezer in town, though. We've got enough fucking geezers. Know what I mean?
In fairness, it wouldn't be me if I didn't, compliment my guests in certain ways. You do a better Scottish accent than most Scottish people actually do.
No. I learned from Mel Gibson, you know, in Braveheart.
No, yeah, but that's how you work for South Africans, to be an alcoholic racist, not for being a Scotsman.
Yeah.
No, you've got what you do. I've heard so many bad Scottish accents, as many of my team will have attested to as well. There are some shit ones out there.
Well, I mean, when I was living in South Africa, I thought I did a good Scottish accent in South Africa, and it was appalling. When I got here, then you can hear what the accent is. It's not the accent that, you know, like from Microsoft, one of those Microsoft games, like train 5 villagers to become, you know, and that's how people think that's that's not a Scottish accent, pal.
No.
You know?
It's the whole Brigadoon thing, like the culture thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? When you hear it enough and you practice enough, and I can still hear my flat South African vowels coming through in my Scottish accent. It's there. You got to be so careful when you're doing an accent what you're paying attention to, and it's the vowels.
Mm.
It's the vowels. If you get the vowels wrong, the accent's fucked, pal.
Mm. It really is,
you know?
Well, especially if you try and do even like an Irish one.
And the problem is when you do it. Let's say you and I start like. Top of the morning here. How you doing, Dan? Are you right, fella? And you doing Irish. Then let's say I must now start doing like an American accent. You got to keep doing the Irish. You find that's then gets hard because you're doing an accent. It's not a normal person is not doing an accent. They're speaking in their normal voice. So then that's not going to change. You can bring a Korean on board and a West Vietnamese, it's no problem.
Yeah.
That person's but if you're putting on a West Vietnamese accent and an East Vietnamese guy comes onto set and starts acting with you're going to battle to keep it running straight. So for one call or two calls, you might get away with it, but you won't be able to play a lead in a foreign accent. I mean, anybody that can play a lead in a foreign accent, for me, that's hats off time. And and some of the British actors playing in America, I take my hat off to them. They do it so well.
Yeah, there's certainly a way with the Brits in doing accents. Don't get me wrong, not all of them. Some of them are appalling, but then again, I think that's just a general thing. So aside for the comedy, have you got any other projects coming up that you can give us a wee ginger exclusive?
No. You know, I've been in make enough money to survive for 10 years. You know, because it's a different world out here. I came over with the show reel and the CV and the experience, and I thought I'm going to fit right in. Oh no, you're not. No. You're wrong. You're not going to. You're going to run out of money by like the end of the second year. And then you're going to have to work for Sainsbury's at like £7.47 an hour, 40 hours a week. And, you know, at the end of 40 hours a week of £7.47, you don't even want to get out of bed on a Saturday if you're not working on a Saturday. You just want to stay in bed, you know. And then because you're not doing what your heart desires, your enthusiasm goes out the window. Depression sneaks in to fill the gap. You start getting anxious. You start getting eczema. You start like bullying your family. You start driving faster than you should and drinking way too much. So I think look, this last year was difficult for me. My wife passed away. That's why I came to Scotland. She was Scottish. She wanted to come back. So I've sort of got over that now. And now because I don't have that bond, I can maybe work on being me again, Because when you join with somebody, you become something different. You're no longer yourself.
Yeah, you're not an I, you're a we.
Exactly.
But everything you do, you've got to consider like your partner.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you want to go and rehearse a play with your mates, you've got to consider your wife. You've got to think, well, what's she gonna think? If I spend 5 nights a week after I come out of the bakery, you know what I mean? So you stop playing golf, you stop rehearsing plays. And I mean, I love being married to my wife. I really did. It was 28 of the best years of my life. Plus, she got me a lot of work.
I was going to say, like, she was a casting director.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little bit... Is incestuous the right word? Not really. There is another.
Not really, unless she was your sister.
No. That's another story.
Or is that New Zealand?
No, none of that. What I mean, when what's the word when you help a family member?
Oh yeah, nepotism.
Nepotism. That was the one. So anyway, but now I don't know how long. I mean, I know my one friend. I won't say anything about that because it'll spoil it for him. But I've got some time left on the planet, and I want to do something with it. So if you know anybody or one of your guests is looking for a bit of an energetic, like, influence in one of their films or plays or whatever, give me a shout. I'm there.
Definitely, man.
I'm there. At the moment, I'm delivering fucking laundry.
Well, in fairness, like, I'm a wanker. I mean, banker.
What's the group noun for bankers?
Yeah,
it's a wanch, eh?
Well, bankers are just basically scum.
No. The group, no, there's a group noun for bankers. It's a wanch of bankers.
I'm going to use that at work tomorrow.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Well, I really do hope that you get some more work because let's face it, like, you definitely deserve it. Like, even just coming in here, you've lifted the place up. Like, you're one funny motherfucker. You really are. I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking to you.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you to say that, and it's been a great pleasure for me. I came all the way from Stirling, by the way.
Wow, that's tough.
I'm committed.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I should be committed.
Well, you live in Stirling, yeah, you should. I'm sorry, buddy.
No, it's quite nice.
Well, that actually leads us to the final question.
I'm not a Ouija.
Well, we should know for Edinburgh. That's worse.
Aye. You'll have had your tea then.
Yeah, fuck Edinburgh. So we'll come on to the final question I ask all my guests. If you could give one piece of advice to anybody that's struggling with mental health issues at this point in time, what would that piece of advice be and why?
Well, it would have to be to do with love. So sometimes you're not in a family environment, so it's hard to get the love from your family. But if you are, I would then just do my level best as a person with mental health problems to express as much love to those people closest to me as possible, because it'll come back. And love is the only cure to mental health issues. I promise you, they can give you all the tablets in the world, and they will assist you to physically, like, calm things down to a level where you can maybe live. But the cure is love. There is no other cure. And obviously you also have to love yourself. Now that's a really difficult thing to do, because part of the mental health issue is you don't love yourself. But you've got to like be kind to yourself, as kind as you can. And you've got to be disciplined enough to every day take a bit of time for yourself and show yourself some respect and some love. It's the only cure. I don't believe there's another cure.
Really good advice, man. What? Yeah, and that's true. A lot of people don't love themselves, at least not in the left hand, right hand way. So
when I say love yourself, it means let's say, okay, you had a very, very expensive thing that was quite fragile, and you wanted to get it from point A to point B. You would take a great deal of care in wrapping that thing up and putting stuff to protect it, and then you would get it to point B. Why do you not treat yourself like that? Why? I mean, are you saying to yourself, I'm not precious, I'm not very, very, very valuable? And in a way, you are. So what I'm saying to people that have got problems, and I'm one of them, take some time every day to treat yourself like a very, very valuable thing. Even if it's 1 minute or 2 minutes, just before you go to bed. Go to bed as though you like putting a valuable thing down on that mattress, as opposed to just like, oh, fuck this old piece of shit and throw it in on the bed, And then I would say, if you can, read. It nourishes your whole being, reading. And unfortunately, I think we've turned away from reading a lot because the media is so available. That's all I've got to say on that subject too.
Well, we'll encourage you to read after you watch this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, obviously. But normally I would do an Ask Andrew Anything segment here, but in all honesty, I think that's actually probably a really good way to round off the show with what you've said. It's really powerful. It's a simple yet effective message. And I don't want to take away from that.
Fair enough.
So we're going to skip the Ask Andrew Anything for today because I really respect what you said to me today. And thank you so much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it.
Don't forget to do your intro.
He just gave the fucking game away. Thanks very much. So
I nearly gave 2 games away.
So until next time, my faithful followers, I've been Andrew Durnan. This has been the brilliant Sean Higgs. Please, give him some work. So at least we can say we got him some work. And until next time, take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.